What's going on, guys? Happy Tuesday to you all, and welcome to my new setup. I'm gonna keep looking forward because I keep forgetting my camera's up here. Um, I'm still trying to get this all figured out. I think I have to get a bigger green screen. It's not quite the best right now. And my setup is just kind of put together at the last second because I wasn't expecting it to be as difficult as it turned out to be. So I hope you guys like it. This is the first picture I chose. So it'll get upgraded. I got to move some stuff around. You know how it is. But anyways, so we're going to talk all things about the Cowboys Patriots game because I think that there is a lot to talk about. And not a lot of good things necessarily to talk about. So let's just jump right into it because I feel I type everything out, so I have like a guide, and this is the longest guide basically that I've ever had, I think. So and I want to say hi because everyone's saying hi in the chat. Hi guys, thanks for joining me. Let's just get straight into it. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about. So this came down to, I think this game became a lot better than a lot of people were anticipating. I think a lot of people were expecting that the Patriots were going to get blown out. And that did not happen. It actually went into overtime if you're living under a rock and you haven't watched the game. So it did go into overtime. The Cowboys won 35-29. And that brought the Patriots to 0-4 on the season at home, which is kind of crazy because home field advantage does not appear to be applying to the Patriots this season. And, lots of players from other teams have always talked about the atmosphere at Gillette. And, even Brady had talked about it, and he only has played in one game as the opponent at Gillette. So they have another home game this weekend against the Jets. And I think a lot of people assume that that's an automatic win, which I guess it's possible, but the Jets just got their first win. So I don't know if that means that they're like on the up and up or what, but I don't know. I'm not going to automatically disqualify anybody from possibly beating the Patriots at this point. So I'm not taking anything as an automatic win. Then this was an interesting stat too. So I have a lot of these like random stats and whatever. So prepare for a lot of that. But the last time the Patriots were 0-4 at home to start the season was in 1993 when Drew Bledsoe was a rookie. And this was the Cowboys' first win against the Patriots in 25 years, which is absolutely insane. I think that someone said that it was their first win at Gillette in, I don't know, since like the 80s or somebody can check that. I didn't verify it. I just saw someone say it. So I'm not sure, but again, kind of crazy. And I'm not comparing Mac Jones to Drew Bledsoe. So before anyone says that, I'm not trying to say he's like the next Drew Bledsoe or whatever. But let's get into, I want to talk about the biggest concerns that came out of this game because there were a lot of them. I will be talking about the good stuff that came from this game too, because despite what, Twitter is saying or whoever is talking about this game, there were some good things that came out of this game, and I want to make sure that I highlight that because we are really focusing on a lot of the negatives from this game, and I get it. Obviously, there was a lot of question marks in this game, but we can't forget about anything positive because you're just going to end up being miserable, guys, if you just focus on all of the negative stuff. So, and also I have the Dodgers Braves game on. So if I keep kind of peeking out over there, I apologize. But anyway, so the biggest concern, I think this is like a universal concern. I mean, that's what all I was seeing on Twitter was the play calling in this game. So there were so many instances in this game where I remember just me personally just sitting there and being like, what is happening? Why are they doing this, or why didn't they do that? One of the biggest things that I have here is going into the half. There was 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the clock when the Patriots got the ball back, and they had one timeout. And instead of actually like trying to do anything productive before halftime. They decided to take knees instead. And I think that even, it's been 2 days since the game. I think that that's still something that I don't understand. And when Belichick was asked for clarification on it, post game, and I think yesterday as well, he didn't really give an answer that I think people were hoping for, or that I guess that we were necessarily expecting. He said that they took knees basically because they got the ball after the half. There was really no elaboration there. And I feel like it's kind of unusual for Belichick. We know that Belichick always loved to drive up the score. So the fact that he took this opportunity with a timeout to not take advantage of how the Patriots offense was doing in the first half and instead take knees, I just thought that was so weird. I mean, a minute and a half with a timeout, that's a lot of time. And they very easily could have tried to do something, at least get in field goal range. And, that would have been a huge difference in the game. So that I don't know. I think that a lot of people are taking an instance like that and trying to twist it into the coaches do not trust Mac Jones. And I don't think that that's it. And I don't think that people should be trying to start that narrative. I think that that's just kind of ridiculous. Obviously, yes, he's a rookie and he's going to make silly mistakes because of that. But he was looking great in this game. And I'm going to touch on Mac Jones a lot later because I think he deserves a lot of credit for this game. But I don't think that there was any reason for them to not trust him. And I don't think that that's the issue at all. I mean, we've heard the complete opposite from both Belichick and McDaniels when asked this question. And if we're meant to believe the things that they say, then we have to believe what they say on that. I also just don't think that I don't think it's a lack of trust. I think it's more like McDaniels' play calling is being put under a microscope this season. And I think that McDaniels' play calling is like nitpicked a lot anyway. I mean, I can't even remember a season where, Patriots fans were sitting there and praising him for what he's done. But I think that it was a huge issue last year too, that they weren't taking advantage of the skill set that Cam had. And it just kind of seemed like McDaniels didn't know what to do with like a completely mobile quarterback. And so he got the benefit of the doubt because obviously he had never dealt with a quarterback that had the skill set that Cam Newton had. So you were kind of like, okay, the play calling is kind of crappy, but maybe it's because, this is a new relationship with Cam and blah, blah, blah. But coming into this season, it feels like we're kind of running into the same issue where there's just not a lot of creativity. And there's just, like the title of this video says, is it's very conservative. And I am not sure why, because I feel, you don't bring in the talent that you did and then you don't utilize them, with the two tight ends. That's something I'll talk about later as well. But like, there's not a whole lot of plays where they were using a lot of the both tight ends at the same time. I'm sorry. And in this game, actually, in the first half, they used the double tight ends a lot, and that was when they were the most successful. So it's very weird. The whole situation is very confusing. And Joe actually says, how much is McDaniels play calling what Belichick wants? That's my question. And that's a fair point because McDaniels actually said today, I have it, I think, further down. Yeah, so here it is. It's a quote. I believe it's from today. When they asked him about not going forward on fourth down, because that's another issue that I'm going to touch on in just a second. They asked if he felt comfortable with it, and he said that he has faith and confidence in the team, but that it's almost always Belichick's decision whether or not they're going to go for it on fourth down. He said if he or they, other coaches, tell them to go for it, then they go for it. So it does make you question how much Belichick is involved in the offensive play calling this season, if he's determining whether or not they're going for it on fourth down. And this was a weird game where they didn't go for it nearly at all on fourth down, where, they had so many opportunities to do that and they didn't. So it's hard to say where the issue is coming from. Is it Belichick that doesn't trust the team, or he doesn't trust McDaniels, or why is he holding back so much on these fourth down play calling? Like, instead of going for it, like, why are we not going for it on 4th and 1? Or it's, I don't know. I'm gonna get into this in just a second, but let's keep going. So another question is, why are they being so conservative, which I kind of just touched on. We've had plenty of instances where we saw that Matt can throw the ball really well. We saw it in this game with that 75-yard touchdown pass to Kendrick Bourne in the fourth quarter. And is this something because of the lack of creativity, as I said, and the play calling that's not really allowing Mac to throw the ball that much? Is that hindering his success? And I think so, because it's understandable why they might have a bit of a leash on a rookie, because obviously you don't want him to be going out there and just making a bunch of mistakes and not being able to reel him in. But I feel like they're kind of holding him back from probably the main reasons why they drafted him. So it's just a really confusing. The whole thing is just confusing. It's very hard to figure out. Obviously, the Patriots are notorious for being pretty tight-lipped, and so I don't think that we're really going to get any sort of answer. And obviously accusing them of being conservative or not doing this or not doing that is not going to sit right with really any team. So I don't know that we would get an answer anyway. But McCracken says, it seems like the team doesn't have a set identity yet. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like there's a disconnect somewhere. And actually, I can't remember who it was. It Kendrick Bourne, or it was someone in the post game, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have kept it. But one of them basically has, or a few of them have said just that they kind of haven't figured themselves out yet, and that they don't have that identity yet. And that's something that I feel the same way, because I think that there, a lot of different things happen, of course, when you get a rookie as your starting quarterback. That there's a lot of learning curves that come with that, because obviously they're brand new, they're young, and in this organization, it's only the second year without Tom Brady. So there was that comfort level with having a quarterback for 20 years. So this is completely new for McDaniels, basically. And pretty new for Belichick as well, because he hasn't had a rookie quarterback starting in however many years. I don't even know the last time he had, other than Brady, when Brady had to come in. But I think that it's going to take time. There's so many new players on both offense and defense. They need to figure that out. The chemistry needs to be there. They need to just get into the groove of things. And I think too that people kind of forget, and I think I've mentioned it on here a few times, that this team was ready to go forward with Cam as the starter until a week before the first game of the year. So I think that might be a bigger issue than a lot of people realize. I feel like this team was kind of built around Cam and what Cam could do. And because that's what it looked like was going to be their plan. And then for whatever reason, he was released a week before the season opener. And, here we are. Let's see. Joe says, Lazar and Barth questioned also why they didn't go for it in overtime and said Bill's been playing not to lose instead of to win. Do you agree or disagree? Yeah, I actually have this as one of my closing thoughts, that I think it's interesting, because that certainly seems like that's how they're playing right now. And that's not something that we're used to. We're definitely used to driving up the score and taking every opportunity that you get to try and get into the end zone and score in some possible way. So it's really hard to say, because I feel like this is just a pretty repetitive season compared to last year. It was very conservative last year. Different, obviously, because Cam is certainly not the same type of player as Cam Newton, Mac Jones. But I think it's confusing. It's really hard to figure out. And it's disappointing because I think, I see on Twitter, I even see media analysts and stuff that are asking, like begging the Patriots to let Mac throw the ball, and to let him be more of the quarterback that he is. And we're just not really seeing that. So, anyway, let's get on to, this is what I want to talk about too, the usage of tight end packages. So, Zach Cox talked about this, and I want to bring this up. It's in one of his many tweets. He said the first 3 drives, they only used 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers on one play by his count. They used it on 3 straight snaps on their 4th down drive and went 3 and out. And Belichick said that the Patriots went away from their heavier package because they had only had a limited number of plays for it. So that's a little bit concerning, I think, too. You don't bring, like I said, 1,000,001 times, you don't bring in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry if you're just going to have them, not using them to their full capacity. And as we said, they were doing really well when they had both of them in the first half. And the fact that they didn't write up enough plays to continue that, not necessarily the entirety of the game, but for a majority of the game, it's kind of like, who's on that? Whose shoulders does that fall on? Who are we blaming for that? Because, as viewers of the game, as fans of the game, if we're noticing that the success is coming from this type of play calling, then why are we not seeing more of that? Why are they not utilizing that? Why are we not coming up with more plays for that? So, Phil Perry also said it was safe to say the Patriots were set on getting their multi-tight end looks going. All 7 Patriots plays that have featured Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Henry had the touchdown, and they were, like I said, were really successful when they used that in the first half. And then after that, basically it was like non-existent once again. And I don't really understand why we would just drop that all of a sudden when you see that it's working, especially against a heavy Super Bowl favorite as of right now in the Dallas Cowboys. So, they are just continuing to confuse us, guys. Even Mike Reese. Okay, this is too. This is something that I thought was funny, because I feel like when Mike Reese says something and is kind of criticizing the team, that's when you know that it has to be bad, because Mike Reese is such an angel and not really negative at all. If anything, he's probably overly optimistic, and people either love it or they hate it. So he tweeted, 3rd and 1, and the Patriots take out their big personnel and insert 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and passing back in Brandon Bolden. Then get stopped on a Bolden run for -1 yard. He said, puzzling decision on that one, from the personnel on the field to the play call to hand off to Bolden. So that's what I mean. If Mike Reese is calling you out for your play calling, and he's been watching Patriots games for however many years, he's going to say it, but like, he usually tries to put a little spin on it to make it not so negative. And so the fact that this was pretty, like, it's not like super negative. It's not like, oh, the Patriots suck or something, obviously. But I thought it was worth taking notes of that. Mike Reese actually criticized the team, and it was basically what everyone was saying already. Getting into why were there no plays on 4th down in this game? Why did they punt into overtime? Oh, so irritating. Why punt in overtime when it's 4th and 3 from your own 46, knowing that the defense had been struggling to stop Dallas's passing offense all game, and knowing that the first touchdown wins the game? That is very confusing to me still. I understand that they were at the, basically at midfield. But I feel like this is one of those situations where you want to try and go for it, because obviously you need a touchdown to win the game. So, 4th and 3, I don't know. It's just bizarre. They also punted on 4th and 4, 4th and 3, 4th and 2, 4th and 1. And on 3 of those, the Cowboys scored a touchdown a field goal, and then the game-winning touchdown. So, Faisal says it's too risky to give up the field in overtime. I understand that, but I think that and I'm not saying that they necessarily should have gone for it in overtime necessarily. I think that there's so many things to look into, and I think that I would have to like look back at the game and kind of like figure out what I feel like I would have done or whatever. But I think that because at that point, I think someone said that the Patriots defense had been on the field for 75 plays. So they were just beat up. They were tired. They were exhausted. So the fact that they got to midfield and then decided to not go for it, and knowing that their defense was probably not going to be able to stop the Dallas offense, it's just kind of like, as Mike Reese said, puzzling. I think that's the best way to describe it. So that was something Evan Lazar had pointed out too. So that's where I got that. And then speaking of defense, they struggled in this game so not completely. They had some great moments. Obviously, they made quite a few fourth down stops. But they could not get off the field. So obviously the Cowboys offense is hot. Dak is a front runner for MVP. CeeDee Lamb is doing great. They have Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, who's very dynamic in both the rushing and the passing game. But the Patriots defense was on the field for over 39 minutes and had 89 defensive snaps, which is a high in this for this season. Their last high was 78 against Tampa. So they weren't able to shut down CeeDee Lamb. He was 9 of 11 for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. And this was a great day for Dak Prescott. So if you have him in fantasy, shout out to you, because you definitely had a great day from your quarterback. He had a total of 445 passing yards. And that's the third most that has ever been allowed by the Patriots. Only Dan Marino, which had 456 in 1994, and Jackie Lee had 448 in 1961. So certainly not a great day in stopping the passing game. Rushing was a lot better. That's obviously been a point of emphasis since last season, because they could not shut down the run last year for anything. And that definitely has gotten better this year. And this was a game that I think was probably something that they worked on a lot, knowing that Ezekiel Elliott was coming in especially. But Zeke was held to 17 carries for 69 yards. In total, there was 31 carries, 122 yards, with an average of 3.9 yards per carry. So certainly an improvement from what we've seen from them over the last 2 years. But, they still allowed 567 yards in this game from Dallas. And that is not something that's going to ever win you a game. So it's like you got to pick and choose what you're happy about. Are we happy about the run game and how they were successful in pretty much shutting down Zeke, or what, are we going to point that out as an emphasis? I don't know. Jackie Lee, I don't know who he is. That was a stat that I got from somebody. I can't remember who tweeted about it. It was probably like GRD or somebody, but and they actually spelled his name Jaky. So it's from 1961. I don't think that a ton of us are very familiar with any players from that far that long ago. So 1961, it's like, and even that from 1961 to 1994, and then 1994 to now, that's still a pretty long time to not have allowed that many yards. And then of course it had to be this year that it happened, right? And then where was the pass rush, guys? Where was the pass rush? So obviously we've talked about it on here several times that Matt Judon is certainly having a great season this year. And I'm not faulting him. I'm just speaking about the pass rush in general. It was basically non-existent. Dak threw 51 passes in this game and he wasn't sacked once. And that is actually the most pass attempts this season by a quarterback without any sacks. So, that is disappointing. Again, that is something that they haven't been able to do successfully over the last couple of years. And with Dak, he's another one that you want to try to contain him in the pocket. And if you let him out, that's when he is a killer quarterback. So they weren't able to contain him whatsoever. They weren't able to get to him. And that is the reason why he threw for over 400 yards. And the receivers were able to just eat up the secondary. The secondary had a troublesome start as well. Obviously, we saw that Juwan Williams was a healthy scratch, what ended up being kind of a problem because Jonathan Jones was injured and out for a few plays. And Jalen Mills had a rough day. We'll get into that in just a second. And then they didn't elevate Miles Bryant from the practice squad. So they were pretty low on guys that they could switch in and out in the secondary. Miles Bryant did get elevated for this week, guys, in case you did not know, and Chase Winovich was put on IR. So I'm not exactly sure what Winovich's injury is, but he'll be out at least 3 games. So JC Jackson, though, I want to talk about that because, of course, we have the idea of him becoming the cornerback 1, especially now that Stephon Gilmore is gone and not coming back. And although he had a rough first half, basically, he allowed Dak to be 2 for 2 and 25 yards. He ended the game 4 of 8 for 47 yards, 4 pass breakups, and he did get a DPI call, which obviously is not good, but he did really well in this game. It was Jalen Mills that had a really rough game. I don't know why they had him on CeeDee Lamb, but I mean, it is what it is. I think that a lot of people have expressed their concern of Jalen Mills playing as corner, and he was playing corner a lot in this game. And I don't know if this was just a hard offense to contain, or maybe it's because he had missed last game and he was just kind of off, or this is just who he is. I don't know. But he was 5 of 7 for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a very rough day for Jalen Mills. And I think that was definitely a concern with signing him. I know he definitely wasn't people's favorite signing this offseason, but he's actually been doing really well. And then this game happened, and it's kind of like it almost like erases everything that he's been doing that wasn't horrible. Jonathan Jones had a pretty good day. He was 2 of 3 for 30 yards, and Justin Bethel was 1 of 2 for 11 yards and a pass breakup. So I love Justin Bethel. And really hope that he is a guy that stays on the Patriots for a very long time. He's very good on special teams. Turnovers were an issue in this game as well. Obviously, there was an interception that Mac threw that was just not good. But, I mean, those are going to happen, especially when you have a rookie quarterback. But his strip sack, which I think it's still so weird to say it was a strip sack. But obviously, that was super unfortunate. They had a loss of 8 yards, and it was returned. It was actually a pick six. They returned it for 42 yards with 2 minutes and 27 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And it was by Trayvon Diggs, which is a hot topic on Twitter today, which I thought was really interesting because, I don't pay attention a lot to, other players and what they're doing, but it's interesting to see how he's on pace to basically win Defensive Player of the Year. Everyone on Twitter is, clamoring for that, but he's on pace to have given up 1,200 yards this season. But because he has 7 interceptions, everyone wants to kind of forget, anything else. So I think it's like kind of crazy that he could he has 7 interceptions. That's great. He had a pick 6 in this game, but if he's given up 1,200 yards, possibly, I don't know how that makes him a Defensive Player of the Year. But anyway, that is besides the point. I just thought that was really interesting. And this was interesting as well. Josh McDaniels was asked about the strip sack and if that forced him to change the play calling. And he said it might have tweaked a few things here and there. So after that, though, the next 5 drives, the Patriots had 4 punts and a kneel. So I don't I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going on. Um, and on special teams, because I briefly talked about that as well, this was another game where it was the second blocked punt of the year. So it appears that our beloved Jake Bailey is human, and he had another blocked punt. So special teams is not usually something that we need to worry about. And that is a little bit concerning because, we've never really had to sit here and worry about the special teams being consistent or giving up plays like this. And now it's happened 2 times this year. So they really need to clean that up. Let's continue on to the issues as if there hasn't been enough. Offensive line issues have continued again. It's mostly the lack of consistency here, and that's not all on the individual players' plate, I would say. I think some of that is also on the coaches, of course, because they're the ones that are setting them up. So it was definitely a better game this year in protection on Mac Jones. I think he was only sacked twice. Yeah, so they only allowed 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and 2 tackles for a loss. So obviously, as far as sacks go and hits, it's definitely better than what we've seen in the last few games. Yeah, I think it was the Randy Gregory hit. Joe says the way Mac got hit on one of those sacks, I thought he was going to get hurt. Yeah, I think it was the Gregory one. Was that yeah, I think was that the strip sack? That might have been that one where it was like, yeah, no, it was, but Mac is crazy. Like, he was saying that he loves to get hit and that he loves to be able to get hit and just get right back up and whatever. And he says, like, that's the fun part of the game. And I'm like, you are crazy. But I mean, it's good to have that attitude, I guess, because I think that he knows that, the team is growing and there's going to be issues like that. And, it's good that he's kind of trying to twist it into something positive, I guess, because I don't think that any of us sit here and think about it in a positive way. But, good for him. He has a good attitude. So Isaiah Wynn and Mike Onwenu did return from the COVID list for this game, but they didn't really practice that much. I don't think Wynn practiced at all. So he was like a really weird addition to the active roster, I think, for this game. I don't think anyone was really expecting that he was going to play, especially, like I said, not practicing. But they were shuffling them around a lot in this game. And Isaiah Wynn was taken out after only playing 9 snaps. So Onwenu did play 43 of 54. So he was in for the most of the game. And I think that's fine. Onwenu he's not been horrible, obviously. But there's just been so much shuffling around again, like last season, where we're putting this guy in at right tackle and we're taking him out and putting someone else in, and then we're moving him to left tackle. It's just too much. And I think that is asking a lot for them to be consistent where they're not consistently playing the same position or playing in a position that seemingly appears to be a strength for them. So I'm hoping that they can figure this out sooner rather than later. We're going into week 7, and the fact that they're still dealing with this is just a little bit crazy to me. But hopefully we will continue to have healthy guys on the line. And I would love to see Trent Brown return this year. I can't remember when he's eligible to return. I would say after week 8. I want to say they put him on IR like a week or 2 ago. So I would assume week 8. But I would like to see him back because I think that he would definitely be a huge boost to this offense. So I did want to mention this, and I don't know if this is going to be a positive or a well-received take or something that you guys will even agree with me on, but I really do think that the record that this team has, which is now 2-4, is not completely reflected. It doesn't reflect how this team has been playing. In some instances, yes, but like Adam Kaufman said on Twitter, the Patriots could honestly be 5-1 or 0-6, and if less than a handful of plays ended differently. So they're definitely, struggling because they are 2-4. But we have to remember that, they just took the Cowboys, who are a super hot offense, especially right now, took them to overtime, and they were able to hold them. The defense is at least to not completely obliterating them. They only lost to Miami by 1 point. They barely lost to the Bucks. So I think that there's been plays that they've left on the field, and had they been able to take advantage of it, then their record could definitely be better than where they are. They basically have the same record that they did at this point last season, minus the fact that the Patriots last year had a week 4 bye, so they were 2-3 at this point. They're not on pace to do very well. I think someone said that they were on pace to be 7-10, which is obviously not where any of us want them to be, but I do think that they are a better team than what their record shows. It's just I don't know that it's necessarily the players. Obviously, we have the 1 week where Jonnu Smith was just not able to catch anything. And then, in this game, it was just very conservative play calling, which I think held them back. And I think we saw that it was holding them back. We saw how well Mac was doing yesterday. And I don't feel like they really took advantage of that. Injuries in this game. We had Chase Winovich with a hamstring. As I said, he went to IR. Juwan Bentley hurt his ribs, and Christian Barmore hurt his shoulder. I don't know the severity of Bentley or Barmore. I don't know that we've heard any updates on that. So hopefully they are not too serious. We definitely want both of them. And Barmore has been playing really well. And he played well in this game. So, I mean, obviously you don't want any player to get hurt, but having these guys that are actually performing really well, you don't want them to go to IR or have any sort of injuries. And did we have Jamie Collins? Did Jamie Collins play yesterday? Does anyone know? I forgot to look at the defensive snap count if he was even on there. But I also want to talk about this. So the biggest what if that came from this game, I have to say, is the fumble on the punt when Matthew Slater basically had the ball. He pretty much had the ball, but the Cowboys they pulled it out of his arms. And that was in the third quarter at the Dallas 12-yard line. And it was so disappointing that Slater wasn't able to maintain possession of that ball. That would have been a huge game changer. And, it could have set the Patriots up to be put themselves ahead at that point. And it could have been the score that would have won them the game. So it's very disappointing to see that happen. Very well played, though, by Justin Bethel, and great effort by Matthew Slater. Obviously, he is my king. If you are not familiar with me, I love Matthew Slater. He's one of my all-time favorite Patriots players. And I would have loved if he was able to get that ball, man. That would have been pretty sweet. Let's see what you guys are saying. Joe says, people might disagree, but if they're not going to be a playoff team, then I'd want a low win total for better draft pick. Look at Dallas's O-line from 1 or 2 bad seasons. Yeah, I see a lot of people already saying that, because I think that we are right now, like if the season ended right now, the Patriots have the 7th overall pick, I think. And yeah, I mean, if they're going to be a lower pick, if they're going to have a bad record, I guess, then obviously you would want them to have a higher draft pick. But I mean, who would you want them to draft high, though? Do you want them to draft an offensive lineman, a defense? Like, what do you want them to draft? Because if they're high up, like, what would you want? Because sometimes, depending on the position, you don't have to have a high, like, in the top 10 to get them. So let me know. So I want to talk about the good stuff from this game too, because we don't want to just focus on all of the negative. Let's talk about Mac Jones. So Mac is not really getting a lot of credit for how well he actually played in this game. This was his best game of his professional career. He finished for 15 of 21 for 229 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. And I have a bunch of random stats for you guys to just talk about how well he did. So he ended on Sunday with the second highest graded quarterback across the league with 92.2. And he was only just right below Carson Wentz, which is not something that I feel like many of us would expect. But Carson, I guess, had a really great day. He had a 92.7 passing grade according to PFF. He had 10.9 yards per attempt, 3 big time throws, and he was 4 for 4 on deep throws with a 110.4 passer rating under pressure. His first incompletion came with just over 2 minutes left in the third quarter. It was on his 11th pass attempt. So, I mean, take that for what you will. He was 7 for 7 for 101 yards and a touchdown in the first half. Again, this is what we were saying, is that he was doing great in the first half. And then when they came out in the second half, it was like 2 totally different games. Like, I just don't know how you see how great he was doing in the first half, and then you come out in the second half and you're playing basically, like I said, the complete opposite. It doesn't make any sense to me. This was also the first time the Patriots have scored a touchdown on their first 2 drives since 2019, which is crazy. And it also got me in my feels a little bit because obviously that was with Brady. So, it is what it is, but we want to obviously keep seeing that. I don't like it when they've been having to play from behind. I'd like for them to have to be able to play as, to keep adding to the score, obviously. They're playing too much from behind this year, and it's not fun to watch. This is from all of this info here is from Mark Daniels of the Providence Journal. Jones has a 71.1 completion percentage, which is the highest by a rookie in his first 6 games in the Super Bowl era. He is 4th in the completion percentage and 8th in completions. He has 1,472 passing yards through 6 weeks, which is the 8th most in NFL history for a rookie quarterback. He has 150 pass completions through 6 weeks, which is the 3rd most for a rookie quarterback. His 7 passing touchdowns through 6 weeks ties him for 9th most in the NFL by a rookie. And his completion percentage of 71% through 6 weeks is the best all time for a rookie quarterback. So, I think that people need to recognize this and realize that we need to be thankful for what appears that the Patriots have found their quarterback. I think that is exciting, and maybe the season isn't turning out how we maybe expected it or it hoped for. But I think a lot of people's gripe from last season was the quarterback specifically. There were so many people who were not thrilled with Cam Newton last season, and then not when they re-signed him this year either. And they really wanted to get a young quarterback. I mean, there was people who wanted Carson Wentz. They wanted Gardner Minshew. There are people who wanted basically anybody that was like a possible trade prospect or even going to free agency or something. So, I think that this is something that people should be more content with because Mac is looking really good and he's very accurate. And, it's something that people need to focus on a little bit as well, not just the negatives. Like I said, like the negatives, yes, I understand negatives always stand out over the positive, no matter what you're talking about in life. But it is really exciting at the possibility that this is the guy that the Patriots are going to be able to have as a reliable quarterback for many years. I think that that's something that we should be thankful for. This is compared to all of the rookie quarterbacks this season as well. Mac is just killing it again. He's 1st in yards, tied for 1st in touchdowns. He's 1st in touchdown percentage, lowest in interception percentage, 1st in completion percentage, 1st in yards per attempt, 1st in QBR. He has the least time to throw. He has the least poor passes. He's 1st in on target percentage. He's the most blitzed quarterback, and he is second in the most dropped passes by receivers. So, taking that into consideration on top of all of the things that he's doing, that is number 1 amongst the top 4 rookie quarterbacks. It's amazing. He's doing really well. And, it seems like every single week he's getting better and better. So, obviously that's what we want to see. And it's very exciting. Even if I don't look very excited right now, I am excited. I think that it is something, people need to realize more. This is why we follow these people on Twitter that put out these positive things, because not everything is negative. Even if the Boston media wants you to believe that everything is negative. Another good thing is the running game is alive and well, and it was in this game. So the last few weeks, obviously, there's been issues specifically in the running game, especially when it comes to ball security. But Damian Harris had a really great game, 18 carries for 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Stevenson had 5 carries for 23 yards and a touchdown, but he also was involved in the passing game, which was really cool to see. He was 3 of 3 for 39 yards, and I think that's really important, and I hope that they continue to do that. James White's absence is being felt, especially in that aspect of the game. And if they are able to incorporate Ramondre Stevenson both in the run and passing game, then I think they should continue to do that. Especially since Damian Harris doesn't really seem to be involved in that much. I think that they need to get someone like Stevenson in. We're missing, Burkhead, James White. They're trying to bring Bolden in, but they're not really using him that much at all, really. Is in very few plays in the game. And he's not, the best this year. So I don't know how much they would actually really use him in this game, or any game. We'll have to see. There was also some bright spots shown on the offense. So Kendrick Bourne was 1 of 2 for 75 yards. Obviously, he got that touchdown. So, that one pass was really good. Jacoby Myers was 5 of 6 for 44 yards. Nelson Aguilar, he was 1 of 3 for 27 yards, as Faisal said in the chat a little bit ago. I believe he had that one big drop, which was super hurtful, obviously not ideal. And then, of course, when that happened, Twitter blew up with the Nelson Aguilar meme from however many years ago when he was on the Eagles. I still believe that he can be a good player for this team. I'm optimistic. Last year, definitely he had a great season, and this wasn't a good showing for him at all, but I'm hopeful that will turn around still. And I still hope that they use Kendrick Bourne more. He's been very consistent and reliable for this offense, and the fact he was only thrown to twice is a little crazy to me, honestly. Let's see. Hunter Henry was 2 of 2 for 25 yards and a touchdown. This was his 3rd straight game with a touchdown. And Jonnu Smith was 1 of 2 for 9 yards. So it seems like his play involvement is dropping a lot. I don't know if that's just, what they're seeing in practice. Maybe they're liking more from Hunter Henry, or, maybe that game where he was not catching anything is hurting him a bit more than what we thought. But I'm liking the inclusion of Hunter Henry, and I think that they need to do that more. I think that they need to include the double tight end sets more anyway. But Hunter Henry is doing what exactly we need him to do, and hopefully they're going to keep doing that, because they're proving that using Hunter Henry is working, and it's working well. Like, if you don't really want to trust this offense, you should trust Hunter Henry. So I'm assuming that they're going to keep going with him, especially like coming up with the Jets. It's very important that they beat the Jets this weekend. And I know that I talked about the offensive line having issues, but there were some bright spots on there as well. The pass protection stats was Kajus had a sack, Isaiah Wynn allowed a sack, Onwenu allowed a hit, and Hunter Henry allowed 2 hits. Hunter Henry, it's whatever. He was in there. He probably needs to get a little bit better at blocking. I didn't see a replay of that, so I'm not sure. But a lot better than what we've seen over the past couple of weeks, especially, that's a point of emphasis that they need to have. We need to keep Mac on his feet. We don't want to risk injury, and you can't be successful if your quarterback is completely getting hit the entirety of the game. Like, it's not going to happen. So the defensive line was good at stopping running plays and goal line plays, which was really exciting. I actually scared my cat at one point because I got really excited. Mike Giardi of the NFL Network said the Cowboys were averaging over 200 yards per game over the last 3 weeks, and running, I believe. They've managed just 47 yards and 20 carries at that point in the game. So they had a good game in that regard. And then Juwan Bentley, obviously, he knocked the ball out at the goal line. And the Patriots had 4 consecutive stops at the 1-yard line, which helped them lead at 14-10 after the blocked punt. So that certainly helped. Matt Judon, too. I want to give a shout out to Matt Judon because even though he didn't have his best game this season in this game, he still is doing great. He is tied for second in tackles for a loss and tied for third in sacks. And JC Jackson is tied for second in pass deflections. So JC Jackson is definitely stepping up in the position that we need him to. With Stephon Gilmore, now that we know that he's for sure not coming back, we need JC Jackson to step up. And of course, he's playing for a contract because he's only here for this season. They have not extended him beyond this year. So he's going to play for either wanting to stay in New England or he's going to be wanting to play for a big contract somewhere else. And I know that he's not everyone's favorite to be cornerback 1, but I think that he has the potential and he's doing, for the most part this year, he's having a really good year. And I would like them to keep him if possible. Another good thing was penalties. Penalties were not an issue in this game for the Patriots. They had a total of 5 for 47. The worst one, of course, like I mentioned a little bit ago, was the defensive pass interference on JC Jackson, which was in the third quarter. It gave up 15 yards, which led to Dallas taking the lead with a touchdown. Kyle Duggar was showing up again in this game, too. He had his interception with help from Justin Bethel. It was only the second red zone interception thrown by Dak Prescott in the last 3 years. So that's crazy. I was really excited that it was Kyle Duggar that got it too, because I am a big fan of Kyle Duggar. I know quite a few of you in here are as well. So the fact that he was, killing it and getting an interception, I think it was his first one of his career. So that was really exciting. Just to get to the questions really quick. Joe said, did they say during the game how Bill got a cut on his nose? I don't think so. Not that I recall. If anyone can correct me, then feel free. But I don't think that they mentioned anything. No. Ross, hello. He says, hey, Mick Homer, thoughts on the Patriots being unable to score in the second and third quarters? Are we too conservative? Curious on your thoughts. I think that Ross just joined, so he missed all my thoughts at the beginning. But in summary, yes, I think that they are being a little too conservative. I can't really pinpoint why, as I said earlier. I don't think that it has anything to do with lack of trust of Mac Jones. I'm just not really sure. I really can't figure out what the issue is, honestly. Mac gave them every reason in the book to believe in him in this game, especially in the first half. So it makes no sense to me that, that they would completely go against that, especially in the second half of the game. So it's really hard. I don't know if maybe Belichick is more involved in the offensive play calling this year, or McDaniels is just not comfortable. I don't know. It's really hard. It's really hard to say. I wrote this too. I said some LOL moments from this game. Was within 15 seconds, Trayvon Diggs had his pick 6, which was his 7th interception of the year. And then he was beat for 75 yards and a touchdown, which is the first time that has ever happened in NFL history. So I thought that was kind of funny, especially because, as I said a little bit ago, that people are very on this hype train that Trayvon Diggs deserves to win Defensive Player of the Year. So it was just kind of funny that, he got his 7th interception of the year and then he was beat for 75 yards and a touchdown within such a short period of time. And I thought this was interesting as well that Ezekiel Elliott and Gregory were complaining about the officiating in this game and how it was unfair to the Cowboys, which I can't agree. I mean, I understand that a lot of players say this after games, especially when they were the heavier penalized team, which was obviously the Cowboys in this game. But as I was saying on Twitter during the game, it's like, I've been saying this like every week, basically, that Judon is getting held pretty badly on almost every single play, and it's not being called. I mean, there's points where they were like grabbing him at the neck. They were in his helmet, and it's like, it's not being called. I don't really know. I think there was like one play that I think that we could agree on that, yeah, the Patriots got away with it. But I would not say that this was a game that was unfairly called. I think that the Cowboys just, they got some big penalties and they were unhappy about it. And some of random team stats. Nick Folk is tied for first in field goals, but he's sixth in field goal percentage and seventh in points. Gunnar Olszewski is fourth in yards per punt return, seventh in punt return yards. And this one makes me sad, but Jake Bailey is 10th in yards per punt and fourth in longest punt and first in punts blocked with, I believe, 2. So our king of punting has been struggling a bit this year, which I think, he's still young. It's possible these are just some growing pains. But my final thoughts for today, I'm surprised that I haven't been talking a lot longer than what I've been on live for. I thought that this was going to be like an hour and a half, if I'm being honest. So I've been seeing a lot of this on Twitter and I kind of wanted to discuss it. So I think that people's expectations for the season were far too high. I think it's the same issue that people had last year, which I think is kind of like the Tom Brady effect where, the vast majority of people that are on Twitter, especially, are going to be a generation that grew up with Tom Brady as their quarterback, or a majority of their life it was Brady. So, they're used to the inevitable success that they didn't really have to worry about games, and they felt comfortable every single year. And now we're a little uncomfortable because we're dealing with a new team, a new quarterback, and they don't have that, the GOAT under their helm for now. So, it's hard to get used to, but I think that people need to lower their expectations. I get the excitement for Mac, and people wanted to believe that he was going to inevitably lead this team to the playoffs. But, every season is different. The Bills have come out pretty strong, and obviously they're the leader in the division right now. But we have a rookie quarterback. We have coaches that are trying to coach a rookie quarterback. There are a ton of new players on both sides of the ball. It's just going to take a while for things to click. And it's kind of unfair to be putting those expectations on such a young kid at quarterback. Like, he has a lot of learning to do. And how many rookie quarterbacks in the history of the league have been incredibly successful as a rookie? So I think that people need to remember that, because it's kind of like I've said it on here before. It's like those expectations and things that people do with Patrick Mahomes and calling him the baby GOAT. And it's like, even though I don't like Mahomes, like, it's unfair to do that to him, because those are such crazy high standards to hold him to. And if he's not performing at that level that people are trying to say he needs to be performing at, then you just automatically think the complete opposite of him. And obviously that's not truthful either. So Mac did say, when you look at the big picture, you never want to see you're close. It's hard to do that. You never want to say you were close. It's hard to do that. But the games we've lost, we've been 2 or 3 plays away. I guess that's just how the NFL works. I'm learning that the hard way. So he's completely aware. He's on the same page as all of us. He knows that if this didn't happen, they probably would have won that game. Or if he hadn't done this, or if he did do that. He seems like a very well-rounded person, honestly, as far as just like on a quarterback level, football level, and just a human level. I think this is just the type of guy that we need on this team, and I'm happy with him so far. Joe says, chance they could sneak into the playoffs after Buffalo's loss by winning the division. I was happy to see Buffalo lose, because the last time I was watching the Red Sox game. I didn't see, I wasn't watching any of the Monday Night Football game, actually. So the last time I had checked, they were winning. I think it was, what was it? 27-30, I think is what it was. So, yeah, I was really surprised and excited that they lost. And that obviously helps that we're now second in the division. I don't know the Bills' schedule, so I don't know if it's lined up in their favor or not. I'm not ruling out a possibility that the Patriots could maybe be a wild card, but the AFC is doing pretty well this year. You know, I'm a little bit worried about when they have to play Buffalo. I'm worried about them playing the Chargers. So, you know, there's the Chiefs are the Chiefs. There's some pretty difficult teams that they would have to try and take down in the AFC. So I don't know that I'm not counting on them making a playoff run, if I'm being honest. Let's see. I guess that I basically covered everything, guys. I just talked a lot about the stuff that I already talked about. So, anyway, if you guys have anything else to share, let me know. And otherwise, I will see you guys hopefully on Saturday, and maybe with a little bit of a better setup, because I'm not thrilled with what I got going on right now. And I'm trying to figure out the green screen and all that. But anyway, I want to say thank you to all of you for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Make sure to tell all your friends if you like what I have to say. Oh, wait. Joe's asking, should they trade for Marlon Mack from Indy? I know that a lot of people were liking him and the idea of him being on the Patriots, and it's possible, but what would you want them to trade him for, or trade for him is the question. Like, are we talking like N'Keal Harry, or like what are we talking about? Because I don't really know that there's like a strong front runner that if you're trying to do a player for player transaction anyway. I mean, if you're talking about draft picks, then possibly, but also depends on how high the draft pick is, because if the Patriots are going to continue on this that we have right now, where they could possibly be in the top 10 or top 15 of the draft picks, then I don't know if I would want to give up too high of a draft pick in order to get him, honestly. A fourth for Mac, maybe Harry and a fourth. I'm not mad at that. Ross said Metcalf contract is up this year. Any prayer of snagging him? No, he's going to want a ton of money, I would assume. And I don't know. I would see the Seahawks would probably want to try to keep him too. I mean, and it's possible that he'll want to stay in Seattle. I don't know his feelings. It seems like he really likes it there. I mean, obviously that doesn't mean anything. There's no loyalty in sports, as they say. But yeah, no, I would assume that they're going to want a lot of money. There's some really great wide receivers that are going to free agency this next year. I actually like retweeted it yesterday. I don't know that the Patriots are going to would do anything to get any of these guys anyway. You know, obviously Belichick is not known for paying a ton of money for guys, but it's Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, Cortland Sutton, Chris Godwin, and Michael Gallup. Those are all guys that are going to be free agents in this next off season. I mean, I would be thrilled if they were able to get, you know, Devontae Adams or Allen Robinson. I just don't know that that's going to happen, especially Devontae Adams. He believes that he is the best receiver in football, so he's going to want a ton of money. And I don't see the Patriots doing that. We have a ton of people going to free agency of our own. And I don't know how much money that they have next season to spend. And so I doubt that they would do it anyway. You know, I can't remember. Joe just mentions that. Are we going to be hurting cap wise in the offseason? I can't remember what their cap is. I remember I'm pretty sure that Miguel has talked about it, so you might be able to find that on his Twitter, which is at Pat's Cap, in case anyone is unfamiliar with who Miguel is. We have a huge list of guys, like I said, going to free agency. So I'm a little bit concerned about how many of them that they need to try to keep, and how many they're going to actually let walk. But I don't know the cap number for next year. I want to say that it's not that high, but I don't know off the top of my head. But anyway, I can try and look into all of that too, and maybe we can discuss it on Saturday. But thank you guys, like I said, for joining me today. And like, subscribe to this video, share with all your friends if you like what you saw. And, I appreciate all your support, and I will see you guys on Saturday. Have a good